Anyway, so I ended up writing down my 5 non-negotiables, because really,
Oh, wow.
really, marriage is a partnership. It's a business deal in a way, but it's really a partnership. It's like, hey, we're going to do this forever. Like, how are we going to partner and do this, right? And so, for me, I thought of it that way. I was like, okay, well, when you go into a partnership deal or a business type deal, you want to think about what are your non-negotiables? What are the things that, this is what I want, and this is what I have to have, and this is what I'm looking for. So I wrote down my five non-negotiables, and producer Lala over here getting on the deets.
I'm going in. Look, how did I turn into the damn interviewer?
But the reality is, hold on one second. The reality is that sorry, I'm just texting her. The reality is that for me, for the 5 non-negotiables was more what I had to write down. I had to write down what those were. I had to have a clear vision of what that was. And so for my 5 non-negotiables, the first one is I wanted a woman of faith. That's the number one thing I wanted.
And that was important to her.
I wanted a woman of faith. The second thing is I wanted a woman who was faithful. The third thing I wanted is ultimately I wanted an independent woman. Okay. I wanted a person that didn't have to be Ciara. They could be doing whatever, but they had their own identity. They had their own perspective on what they wanted to do in life and how they wanted to impact people. And that was something that I noticed from the first time we met and how she spoke about others. The fourth thing was I wanted a woman who was going to love me the way that my mom loved my dad when he was on his deathbed, and how my mom took care of my dad no matter what the circumstances were, no matter how hard it got. Our family, to be honest, we went bankrupt at one point, and just, it was hard. It was heavy. It was heavy times, and you have to be able to, my dad always knew that we were going to be good. That we were going to be good. My brother, myself, and my sister, that we were going to be okay because my mom was helping lead the way, and she had a great perspective. And the fifth thing was ultimately I wanted a woman who was going to tilt the room. Right? You walk in the room, if she walks in the room, the whole furniture just slides to her.
Okay.
And so the 5 things my 5 non-negotiables were one woman of faith. Second thing was one woman who's faithful. Third thing was one woman who was independent. Fourth thing was I wanted a woman who, who loved me the way that my mom loved my dad. And the fifth thing was, ultimately, is I wanted a woman who would tilt the room.
Tilt the room.
I wasn't going to settle for 3 out of the 5 or 4 out of the 5. We were going to go 5 for 5, and that was it.
And you got it.
And we got 5 for 5 plus some more.
You got it.
Yeah,
you got it.
That was really what we were.
Are you crying?
Yes, I am. Sorry, because I'm hormonal too. But I mean, I guess.
It is sweet, but it's so nice to hear it all over again.
Yeah, well, I think the cool thing is like even when you get to take time and really hear like when we talk about these things is that our prayers are pretty much lined up. I think that's probably like the thing that I hear out of it when we talk about it and we say these things back, because we've talked about this time and time again, whether it's with our friends or just people when we're having conversations about our journey. And I think the thing that stands out the most to me is that we were in sync. We talk about being equally yoked. And that moment of when you pray, I think for anything in life, I don't care if it's like love, if it's business, if it's the vision you have for yourself, like even as a single person, right? I think for whatever it is, because at that time period, I was a single mom. So I'm like, and I was single, right? So
I remember.
Yeah, I know. You've been there many nights.
Yes.
But at that time, you got to be intentional. Like, I really believe you can't get anywhere in life without a compass of something. You got to have a compass. If you're trying to get somewhere in life, you got to have some kind of compass, because again, otherwise you're just shooting in the dark. You're just kind of hoping and guessing, and like you kind of like, I feel like you make life more complicated and you make the journey more complex.
Right.
But
I feel like even during those times you were still so positive about just your outlook, where a lot of people would just be over everything, and you still just kept a positive spirit and positive attitude throughout that whole time.
Yeah, I mean that was important to me, because that was the thing that I knew was going to keep me up.
Right.
Because if I decided to think negatively and being in my circumstance, then I knew that was going to set me back. And I think my biggest fear I have is losing my identity, like who I am as a person. Like that's one of my biggest fears, is like not knowing who I am. And I think sometimes when we're like wrapped up in like the situation when it's not the best situation. Just like the idea of it, like not even saying like it's necessarily like a particular thing, but just in general where we are. If we're wrapped up in that moment, then we lose sight of like what really is important, and we just lose sight of everything. And I think for me, I love being happy. Like happiness is a big part of my identity. So if I take that away, I'm not being who I am. And then that's going to trickle down to my son. Like at that time period, I'm like, that would trickle down there. That would trickle down to
one of the things I always tell
everything.
is
everything. Not even just that, but you know, the
work, everything.
Everything. My career, everything. Like I literally won't be, you know, my best me. Right?
one of the things we always talk about, I always try to tell her, is that there's a difference between happiness and joy. Right? And I think you want to be happy. Happiness is good, but really trying to have joy, right? And I think joy is stronger because it's deeper. And I think, you know, happiness, we have different moments of happiness, upset, you know, sad, these things, these emotional things that take us high and low. But the real foundation of joy, and I think one of the things that I know for us is that we found true joy because on the first day we met, we started talking about this idea of, I said, you know, I want a woman if I'm going to be with somebody, I want a woman who's going to be equally yoked. Somebody who has the same, you know, that's biblical. I wanted somebody that had the same viewpoint on life and where they wanted to be and what they wanted. And we're not going to be perfect by any means, but at the end of the day, we're going to be equally yoked in how we want to raise our kids and how we want to be able to impact and the things that we think about and the things that we do. And so I think that's where it's made it easy on us, in the sense that when I say that everything hasn't been easy, well, what I mean is that when we have a tough moment, it's easy for us.
Challenge.
Or anything like that, or anything that's going on in life, whether it's football, music, life, you know, whatever it may be, kids, anything, right? Is that we can always find that center place, right? And we always have joy in that, and I think that gives us the greatest peace, and is the most calming thing in the world, and God is the center of it all. And I remember when we first got engaged that night, March 11th, we were I said to her, you know, when she said yes, I said, you know, the only thing that I pray for in our relationship is not to have all these things and this and that, but for God to be at the center of it all. That's the one thing that if we can do that, we'll be forever.
Do anything.
And so
forever.
That's what we prayed on, and we literally prayed in that moment on that. So
I love that. Why are people like lie? Are you having a talk show right now?
I forgot these people
They
online.
Lyle said 10 minutes ago she had to go work out. She's still.
I thought I was talking to my sister. I even forgot all about everybody.
By the way, I'm gonna schedule my therapy session with you, Russ, for later on today. So pencil me in. These people want to talk to you guys. I gotta get off and let other people get on.
Well, we love you, Lyle.
I love you guys so much. Love y'all.
Okay, have a good workout.
Call me after.
Okay, bye.
Bye, dear. Bye.
So funny. Okay, what do you do?
I think we do that. We're trying to figure this thing out. We're trying to see who else is.
All right.
I saw Judah on here. He wanted to go live.
Let me
Let's see if he's
here.
still on here. I don't know where
Here, go like
do
this.
this.
Why don't we do like that? There, bam. There you go, right there.